On this Thursday night, the crushing blow to BC's farmers. Livestock and livelihoods lost in the wake of a catastrophe.
We are talking in the hundreds of millions of dollars.
Plus, how some gas stations are running on empty. Pfizer's COVID vaccine is on the verge of being approved for more Canadian children. How to prepare them for their shot. Vanished without a trace, a tennis star's mysterious disappearance after accusing a Chinese politician of sexual assault. Plus, heartfelt and hearty meals.
It feels good to be able to help people.
The recipe to help BC's stranded truckers.
Global National with Donna Friesen.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. The catastrophic storm damage to critical infrastructure in British Columbia is going to take weeks or months to repair, and we're getting a clearer picture of the impact on lives. The scale of the damage is extensive. Not just highways and rail lines were severed. Pipelines that run through the same terrain have been shut down, including the Trans Mountain pipeline, which supplies 90% of the refined fuel used in Vancouver and the Lower Mainland. All the problems are leading to delivery delays, lineups, and fuel shortages in some places.
We're taking a number of steps to maintain a supply of fuel, working with Trans Mountain, for example, to get their pipeline running quickly and safely. We're exploring options to have fuel transported from other jurisdictions like Alberta in the United States.
Trans Mountain says there is no indication of any oil released from its pipeline, but says access to some areas is still hampered by debris and washed out roads and bridges. It says every effort is being made to safely restart the pipeline as promptly as possible. Highway 7 in the Fraser Valley partially reopened, but only temporarily. It will be closed again so crews can work on repairs. The Lower Mainland has been effectively cut off from the rest of Canada since Monday. In Abbotsford, floodwater has subsided in some areas, but because of breaches in a dike, it is rising again on the Sumas Prairie. The mayor says the situation is critical and work will begin tomorrow to build a levee to try to stop the water. The Fraser Valley is the agricultural heartland of BC, home to hundreds of family farms that supply food to millions of people. Our coverage begins with Robin Gill on what's been lost and the difficult road ahead.
The Dullywell farm is now under 3 meters of water. It is a blow to the family business.
No fruit, no profit, and all the effort and all the sprays and everything money we put into it can go to waste.
Boats are taking those who left in the evacuation to assess the damage. It is beyond devastating. Those who stayed behind are trying to keep their livestock alive.
We need to get clean drinking water for our chickens and feed for our chickens in so that they can survive.
Today we feel confident that we are going to be able to access feed. There was some feed that was at the port of Vancouver that was destined to go to China, and it looks like we'll be able to reroute that back into the valley as needed.
The city of Abbotsford is not even close to being in recovery mode from the floods that have devastated what is the heartland of British Columbia's agriculture industry.
These farms are second, third, maybe even fourth generation farmers, and they love their cattle, they love their land. They don't want to move. I get that. They want to look after their investments.
As you can see, the water hasn't gone anywhere. There are difficulties in draining it, and there is more rain on the way, so it could be weeks before farmers are able to assess the damage to the land.
The biggest toll is on the animals. It is not clear how many have died, and those that survived have been taken through toxic water to dry land. Much of the land they're used to grazing on is underwater, so the dairy industry will take a hit.
BC on average produces 2.2 million litres a day, and for the first couple of days, probably about 75% of that could not be picked up. It's improving as we go along, but it was substantial.
It could be months before any of the infrastructure is rebuilt.
Especially some of the chicken farmers that had significant water in their actual structures, they might be down well into the early part of 2022 before they get things back functional.
The Dullywalls want to put 2021 behind them.
First there was heat damage, so this year wasn't too good either, so we had our hopes for next year. But now it's all flooded, so we don't know about next year either.
What is clear is that this will go down as one of the worst floods in BC's history. Robin Gill, Global News, Abbotsford, BC.
North of Whistler, near the village of Pemberton, crews are still searching for those missing after Monday's deadly mudslide. The body of one woman from BC's Lower Mainland has been recovered. Police say 4 other people reported missing are still unaccounted for. And we're learning more tonight about the woman killed in that mudslide. Her family says her husband was also caught in it. He is still missing. His brother spoke with Global News.
Last contact we had with them, they were in Lillooet, and we haven't heard from them since. We just want to have some closure, you know. We know his wife is deceased, that information we got, and she was found in his truck, and he was not. So I talked to one of the witnesses, and she told me that some of the people were outside of the vehicles. The RCMP has not confirmed if he's. They haven't found him yet at all. So he's one of the missing people.
The family says the couple has a 2-year-old daughter. They'd gone away for the weekend without her. She was not in the car on Monday when the mudslide hit. Hundreds of people stranded for days in Hope on the eastern end of the Fraser Valley are finally headed home. Late yesterday, enough debris from mudslides was cleared away there to allow part of the highway to temporarily reopen. Global's Kamil Karamali is there. Kamil, bring us up to speed on what's happening today.
Donna, the first people to get out of Hope, BC in days by car, headed to the Lower Mainland overnight, but many people still cut off with all other routes still blocked. Many are going to great lengths to get out. How's it feel to be going home? So good! The race out of Hope was on Wednesday night.
I miss my family. It feels amazing.
Crews temporarily opened up Highway 7 heading west, only to allow the hundreds of people stranded in the district access back to the south coast, back to their homes and their families.
We're either going to jet boat tomorrow or this was the better option.
Thursday morning, the highway reopened to commercial vehicles. Massive semi-trucks barreling along an already precarious road, some drivers still concerned.
You start pounding 100,000-pound trucks over that. Is it going to blow the highway out like all the other highways? Who knows?
The desperation to get home overriding other emotions.
Take the blankets and deliver them.
For the first time in days, Hope returning to its small town self.
24 hours ago, we had about 250 people staying here.
This church packed for 3 days with hundreds of stranded people now empty.
A little fatigue. But relief that people have been able to get back to their homes.
But there are still those who are cut off from their homes. Jamie Roy lives in Kelowna. The Coquihalla Highway heading north into the Okanagan is ripped into two.
Like I said, step one is get out of here, and then step two, we go from there.
And that's when strangers become allies to battle the odds. This pair teaming up to try and get back to their families any way they can.
I'm giving this guy a ride home. I've never met him before. So he was by himself. I'm by myself. We need to talk.
The kindness in this town has been, it's been overwhelming. It's been really good for us.
It won't be an easy detour down to the Lower Mainland and then through Washington State. Border services are allowing drivers to pass through the U.S. without a passport and a COVID-19 negative test. What's motivating you to get back home so quickly?
Want the kids.
Now, the opening of the highway is only temporary to allow those who don't live here a way back home to the south coast. But now crews will block up the highway once again to repair all the damages, and that could take weeks. Donna?
Okay, Kamil Karamali in Hope, BC, thanks. Work is underway across southern BC to get highways cleared and repaired. All major routes connecting the Lower Mainland to the rest of the country are still cut off. These images are from BC's Ministry of Transportation. The scale of the damage, the terrain, and the coming winter will all impact how fast this can be fixed. Many washouts are so extreme, just making sure slopes are stable for work crews is going to take time. Those road closures have delayed all kinds of deliveries, including of COVID-19 vaccine. Pfizer says there are enough doses of its vaccine in BC to deal with immediate needs, and it's working on the supply chain. But there's no word on how long the delay could last. And long-awaited approval by Health Canada of the Pfizer vaccine for 5 to 11-year-olds is coming tomorrow. Jamie Mauracher has more on that and when Canadian kids could get their first dose.
Anna Wolak is a family doctor and a doctor with a family. She's got 3 kids under 10, and she's thrilled a pediatric COVID vaccine is one step closer to becoming a reality.
As a parent, all you want to do is protect your kids, and knowing that the science has been there, but being unable to access it has been like sheer torture.
Okay, good job. It's been 2 weeks since the U.S. started vaccinating 5 to 11s with Pfizer's kids vaccine. Health Canada has been reviewing it for a month. Now that agency approval is coming Friday, Pfizer says supply will be ready, with the delivery of almost 3 million vials shortly after the approval announcement. But no doses have shipped yet, so those first shots may take some time.
My 9-year-old has been asking almost every other day, when is she going to get vaccinated?
Ottawa isn't releasing a precise delivery schedule until the approval is made, and rollout targets seem to differ province to province. But that's not stopping most from getting ready.
We expect to have our provincial booking tool up and ready very early next week.
Dr. Christine Chambers says parents need to prepare too and tackle kids' concerns before their appointments.
Making sure you're using positive and neutral language, not talking about the needle in a negative way, really explaining to them the importance of the vaccine.
Wolak, who has already registered her kids for their shots through BC's online portal, has kept communication open.
Our youngest one is nervous because it is a needle, but she understands as well. You need it because it's a shield. It's going to help you. It's going to help you not get sick.
The best line of defense against COVID, and it's coming soon for Canadian kids. Jamie Mauracher, Global News, Toronto.
Electric vehicles are part of the solution to ending our reliance on fossil fuels. They're also becoming a source of trade friction between the U.S. and Canada. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is in Washington for a summit meeting, and President Biden is throwing a wrench into Canada's electric vehicle manufacturing. Our chief political correspondent, David Akin, is traveling with the Prime Minister. David?
Well, Donna, over the decades, Canada and the United States have had some fierce fights over everything from cod to lobster to lumber. Well, these days, the big fight is about an electric vehicle tax credit.
Anybody want to jump in the back? On the roof?
The U.S. president is so enthusiastic about electric vehicles, he wants every American to buy one. And his administration has legislation before Congress that would authorize a credit of up to $12,500 US to any American that buys an electric vehicle, so long as it's made in the USA. But that idea, a tax credit only for Made in America vehicles, has Canada seeing red.
The way they have formulated this incentive really has the potential to become the dominant issue in our bilateral relationship.
Canada thinks such a subsidy would be a clear violation of the Canada-US-Mexico Free Trade Agreement that Donald Trump signed. Not only that, the Biden car subsidy would hit Canada harder than the tariffs Trump once wanted to slap on Canadian-made cars.
If you look at it in terms of purchase price, what Joe Biden is doing to the comparative competitiveness of Canadian-made cars is worse than anything that Donald Trump threatened, and really threatens the future of an incredible industry.
I said we're going to talk about that. We haven't even, it hadn't even passed yet through the House. We're about to see that move, and we don't know what will happen in the Senate, but there's a lot of complicating factors.
U.S. protectionism is an issue for Mexico, too, something Trudeau and Mexican President Manuel López Obrador talked about when they met.
Lots of great things to talk about, lots of things we agree and align on.
Now, protectionism was the top issue for Canada, but the leaders talked about a whole lot of things. China, COVID, climate change, the economy, you name it. Now, how will this impact Canada? Well, look ahead to next week's throne speech to see how the talks here will impact the Trudeau government's agenda. Donna?
All right, David Akin at the White House in Washington. Thanks. A sharp rise in COVID cases in Germany. Coming up, the new restrictions on the way and the warnings about Christmas. In Germany, strict new COVID-19 rules are coming to help curb a record rise in new infections. The unvaccinated will be excluded from certain venues. Proof of vaccination or a negative COVID-19 test will be required at workplaces and to use public transit. With cases surging, the head of Germany's disease control agency is warning the country could face a terrible Christmas if things don't change. Germany reported more than 65,000 new infections today. 67% of Germans are fully vaccinated, one of the lowest COVID-19 vaccination rates in Western Europe. And in Austria, there is growing pressure for a full lockdown after another day of record-breaking cases there. Earlier this week, all unvaccinated Austrians were placed on lockdown. Officials in the hardest-hit provinces say a lockdown on everyone is needed, and they may impose it themselves. 66% of Austrians are fully vaccinated, even fewer than Germany. Ahead, concern grows over the whereabouts of a missing Chinese tennis star. Two of the three men convicted in the assassination of civil rights leader Malcolm X have been exonerated.
The joint motion is hereby granted, and the record.
More than half a century after the murder of Malcolm X, a New York judge dismissed the convictions of Mohammed Aziz and the late Khalil Islam. They were found guilty, along with Mujahid Abdul Halim, of killing Malcolm X in February 1965. Investigators later found evidence authorities withheld crucial information that likely would have led to the acquittal of Aziz and Islam.
The events that brought us to court today should never have occurred. Those events were and are the result of a process that was corrupt to its core.
Aziz and Islam have maintained their innocence for decades. Halim confessed to the murder. There is growing concern for the safety of a missing Chinese tennis star. No one has seen Peng Shuai since November 2nd, when she publicly accused a former top Chinese government official of sexual assault. An email was later sent from her account claiming she's safe and the allegations are false. But now the tennis world is casting doubt on the authenticity of that message. Mike Drolet explains.
The allegations made by Chinese tennis star Peng Shuai were more serious than scandalous for both a sport and a world superpower. But 20 minutes after she posted her story to Weibo, the most popular social media platform in China, it was gone, deleted by Chinese state censors. That was November 2nd. No one has seen her since. And despite mounting international pressure, China's foreign ministry claims to not be aware of the situation. In her post, Peng said that for a decade she had an on and off extramarital affair with Zhang Gali, who is 75, a high-ranking member of the Chinese Communist Party and former vice premier. But she also alleged that 3 years ago he forced her to have sex with him after a match, while his wife guarded the door.
We definitely should be concerned about her welfare. She has taken on a member of the inner elite of the party itself.
Now, tennis's biggest names are rallying to her defense.
It's shocking, that she's missing.
Demanding China allow the world to see her. But when star Naomi Osaka weighed in with hashtag #WhereIsPeng Shuai, she too was censored on Weibo. Amidst all the concern, Chinese state television attributed this statement to Peng. The allegation of sexual assault is not true. I'm not missing, nor am I unsafe. I've just been resting at home and everything is fine. The head of the Women's Tennis Association responded, I have a hard time believing that Peng Shuai actually wrote the email we received, before demanding independent and verifiable proof that she is safe. The WTA has not been able to independently reach her, and is now reportedly threatening it could cancel its 10 tournaments in China next year if that doesn't change.
The possibility that enough attention has been brought to this that it might embarrass the regime in advance of the Olympics is perhaps her greatest single hope for being allowed to preserve her autonomy and her voice.
But right now, the tennis world just wants to know Peng Shuai is alive. Mike Drolet, Global News, Toronto.
Truckers stuck in limbo. Next, the BC community stepping up with the comforts of home. This little guy from Newfoundland and Labrador is heading home after an incredible journey. The cat somehow stowed away on a ship en route to Nunavut and made it to Iqaluit, frightened but otherwise okay. All it took was a bit of tuna juice, apparently, to coax him out of his hiding place, and the cat is now resting comfortably on his long journey home. Well, some truckers in BC can only hope they get home soon. Highway closures from catastrophic flooding have left many stranded, forced to either hang tight, abandon their loads, or reroute. In Kamloops, well over 100 truckers are stuck, and as Heather Urix-West explains, they're benefiting from the kindness of strangers.
For days, they've sat stranded.
Sit and wait till I get someplace else to go.
About 100 trucks have been stuck here at this stop in Kamloops since the weekend. Drivers with full loads unable to get to their destination, trying to come up with a plan now for the days ahead.
We might be going back down to Calgary, if not. So my company is like trying to get a load from US, and then we might be going back to Surrey from US.
My plan now, go to my home by air.
Unable to leave their valuable cargo unattended, the truck drivers have been staying with their rigs day and night. And so the Kamloops Sikh community came together to help.
It came to our attention that the truckers were stranded here, and they couldn't leave their trucks because they have loads, and they're really stranded on the side of the street.
Community members got to work, preparing hot meals for the drivers.
I'm actually from Merritt, and we had ended up evacuating.
Forced from their home after their city's water treatment system failed, Avinash Tanda's family has no idea when they might be able to return home. She says focusing on helping others has been a welcome distraction.
It feels good to be able to help people, like we're making a difference.
That kindness appreciated by driver Dave Horn from Saskatoon.
I'm from the prairies, and so I don't really know people here. So it's really nice that the locals are reaching out the way they are.
A small gesture of comfort for the many left waiting here, alone, far from home, and unsure of when they'll be back. Heather Urix-West, Global News, Kamloops, BC.
And that is Global National for this Thursday. I'm Donna Friesen. Tonight's Your Canada is near Miscouche, Prince Edward Island. We'd love to see your Canada. Please email it to viewers@globalnational.com. Thanks for watching. Jeff Semple will be here at the Anchor Desk tomorrow, and I'll see you on Saturday for the new reality. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.